Welcome back to another episode of GNCRC, guys. I'm using a different camera, so the quality won't be as good as the camera I used on the last video, but I just had to come to you guys to give you another video on the Tetra 24. Just stay tuned because we got a bunch of them coming. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. That is two Tetra 24s. You got the V1 and the V2. So I've been asked to go over some of the differences on the V1 versus the V2. And the first place I'm gonna start, which for me was a real big thing when I saw it right out of the box, when I was opening it. If you notice, the tire size. So now we are back to a 1.0 wheel and tire. And if I'm not mistaken, these are like 50 millimeters. Might not be such a good option for you big guy tires, but we're gonna do a video on tires as well, because you're probably gonna get some rub, because this one did get some rub after I freed it up quite a bit. And these are like 1.3s, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. 1.2, 1.3, something like that. But they're quite a bit larger. And if you notice, these should not rub. If they do, it'll be just a little bit. So right out of the box, that's one of the things I noticed. From this view, you guys can't tell, and I'll show you that a little bit later. Center of gravity, totally different. Now we're gonna go underneath these things, but let me give you a warning. On this particular one, I ripped the electronics off. As a bunch of you guys know, I did have on the Lizard Pro. Of course, I changed it to my Spectrum radio, but as of now, I'm using the Noble MB4. So I'll probably be putting a Noble MB4 on the first one. Had a few people to ask, could I go ahead and drive it in the stock form before I change out the electronics, which I will do that hopefully this weekend. But let's go ahead and get the body off of this one as well. Now, I don't have well, I do have it, because they did send me out a new ESC for this one, but I never used it. I went back to my Lizard. And they also sent me out springs for this one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost sure I got springs. Yeah, they sent me springs for this one as well. Now, when you first look at this thing, the one thing that stood out to me is the motor position. Where this motor position is totally different on this one. This is the V2 versus the V1. That one's kind of tilted. So I know this is kind of a mess, but this is where I took everything off. But you notice that's more in an angle. But they did move that because of the one thing, if I'm not mistaken, is because on this particular one, and I moved mine around a little bit, you can't really see it right here, but the link will hit that motor. You could probably see that motor move after I make it flex all the way. But it did hit that motor. Whereas on this particular one, it doesn't hit it at all. So that's one of the improvements as well, the flexibility. Now, you're probably looking at this video and saying, well, the one that you have right here flexes quite a bit. But that is after I went in and I made some adjustments on this thing. So it does flex, but it does not flex like it does out of the box. The V1 barely moved out of the box. It's really stiff. There's a lot of videos out there about that, but they went back and they fixed that problem. So another issue that they had was the servo. The servo did not really, it hit that a lot. It hit the top and the sides. So it was doing a lot of binding, whole lot of binding. Now this particular one, it still goes up and it hits that top right there, but you still have a whole lot more flexibility. And again, this is one that has been worked on. So it's flexing a whole lot more than one of the ones that someone got and they didn't do anything to. It's flexing a whole lot more, flexing a whole lot better. But again, like I say, it's still hitting that motor. That was an easy fix. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see that motor moving. That whole mount. That was an easy fix just by heating up the link, but that wasn't really anything I was interested in doing. It's gonna be really hard to tell, but the center of gravity is a whole lot lower on this particular one versus this particular one. As you heard me state in my earlier video, they did use the same battery. I have a LiPo that I'm gonna use here. It's a 2S. I'm gonna probably end up going with a 3S once I change out the electronics, but as of right now, we're gonna do the 2S. Another thing they fixed on this particular one, I don't know if you guys can tell, but that axle shaft is like really long, really long. And on this one, it's not near as bad. Now, of course, they have these little covers that go on here, but it's not near as bad on this one. See the difference in the length? It's a big difference. This is a very important piece of the puzzle for me. We got the 1.0s now versus, if I'm not mistaken, 1.3s. This is the V2. Now, this is a Patagonia on a Maz wheel, and this is the stock wheel and tire. And you'll notice this one is a little bit wider. That's how I like them, a little bit wider. And it's a little bit taller, not much. I think Patagonia's like 53, 52, I'm not really sure, so don't quote me on that, but these are 50, so these are a little bit taller. Anyway, but I'm just gonna pop one on here and let you see the difference. These particular wheels, the offset. So let's go ahead and get the body on, so you'll tell it's gonna give you a little bit more width. So you notice, I don't know how well you guys can tell on the video, but it does stick out quite a bit more. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. But we're gonna do a whole nother video test fitting wheels. But that just gives you an example of the wheel we can probably go with on here. Wheel and tire size, probably go a little bit larger, but you don't want it to rub. And this one is probably gonna be close to rubbing, but it's not gonna rub, I don't think. Now this is one of the Maz new wheels. Same style, just in the black. And this is like a 62, I think, millimeter tire. It's a good looking tire on there, but you can tell those larger tires are not gonna work that well on here. I don't know how well it'll work on that Power Wagon, but it's definitely gonna rub on here. And for me, I don't particularly like the larger tires anyway, but that's just my personal preference. A lot of people do like the larger tires. I myself don't. These are already rubbed, so if you put these on, they're gonna definitely rub. That's why I say, by them going with this smaller tire, or smaller wheel, 1.0, and a smaller tire, it actually is a win for them. We're gonna check this tire out. I don't think it has foam in it. It doesn't feel like it. Although the one on the rear does feel like it has, well, I'm sorry, the spare tire I feel like it does, but I could be wrong. I'm almost sure these don't. And of course, guys, you know, that's one of the first things we pull off, but we'll go ahead and check this out just to see if it does have any foam in it. All right, so it's plastic bead locks, of course, with 3-screw design, and you got an aluminum ring, and no foams, of course, which is not a big deal. And if you notice, guys, the rings are already vented, which is that's a good thing. So with these 3 screws, I'm gonna show you how easy it is to put this thing back together. And just like that, it's done, 3 screws. So as you guys know, it's the same hex size. It's just a little bit thicker than your traditional SCX 24. All right, so we're gonna take off the portal cover. And that is what the inside of your gears look like. It wouldn't hurt if you put a few drops of grease or some type of oil inside of there. As far as the portals go, look like pretty much the same design. As far as the shocks go, these are a whole lot smoother than the V1s. The V1s were pretty bad. I hadn't opened these yet, so I can't say how much oil is in it, but I can tell you they do move a whole lot better. The first version of them, of this particular one, was real gritty, and they still are somewhat. I didn't do a whole lot with it because I just didn't take the time to do a whole lot with it. And they still are somewhat gritty, and you can see how they kind of bind right there. Like once it goes this way, it just binds right there. But with these, they just move. So the shocks are a whole lot better than what they were. As I mentioned before, the ESC, totally different ESC you guys saw in the first video. How you can, basically, it's like an electronic transmission, I guess you would say, but it's a whole lot smoother. It's not anywhere as near as loud as the first one was. The first one was like really loud, but this one is a whole lot better. They did send me out of the second one. I did not use the second one because I was, at that particular point, I was using my Lizard Pro. So I can't say that this is not the same one as in the second one. I got it and I threw it in the box. You'll notice they had O-rings on the shaft, but they did change it to a different design. I don't know what you actually call these, but it's a totally different design as far as that goes, so you don't have to worry about the actual pin falling out. This is a little bit different than this particular one. This is the V1 and the V2. Now I don't know what all that entails because I hadn't gone that far into it. Sliders and everything look pretty much the same. Well, I think they are the exact same. Only other thing I wish they did differently was, instead of this battery, I wish they had just gone with a LiPo. But I think we all got enough batteries to, if we want a LiPo, we can stick a LiPo in there. But that's just some of the things, guys. I'm gonna come back and do another video, and I'll get into the wheels, as far as like what may fit, what may not fit, because I do have a bunch of different wheels and tires. I just don't have them all mounted, but I have a bunch of different ones, so I'll give you an idea on that as well. And I'm gonna also get into the ride height and just show you the difference in the ride height. You can't tell right here, but it's a big difference. In a couple days, I will be at the course, so we're gonna run this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and, like I say, run it stock radio, stock everything, and we're gonna see how well it does. I will take another set of wheels and tires because more than likely, you know, most of your ready to run stuff, you're gonna have to change out the wheels and tires. Well, tires at least, but we're gonna change the whole wheel out because they just don't perform that well stock. Okay guys, that's some of the differences in the V1 versus the V2. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit the like button if you like the video, hit the dislike if you don't like the video. Leave a comment below if you don't mind, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button for me. Till next time guys, this is GNCRC. Thanks for watching.